Hello everybody and welcome to the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series Season 4 Round 1 here at the Red Bull Ring. My name is Jack Oliphant. You may recognise my voice slightly from the finale at the Nordschliefe a couple of weeks ago, but I'm joined in the commentary box this time round by Zach Sweeney. Zach, how the devil are you?
Well, I am absolutely stellar. A bit of a last-minute thing to be here, Jack, but it's an absolute pleasure. And, well, what a circuit to be at. The Red Bull Ring. We couldn't really have asked for a better one. It's going to be, well, quite a slipstream train for the entire thing, isn't it?
It should be. I actually very much enjoy the Red Bull Ring. It's one of my favourites sort of on the F1 calendar. Anyway, it's always been, I've always been half decent around there, and you always like the ones that you're half decent around, don't you? But either way, it's probably going to provide some spectacular racing in these radicals. Not much straight line speed, but a hell of a lot of downforce, as you can imagine. And that sort of sector 2, sector 3 is going to be really sensational to see them fly around there at full chat.
Oh, 100%. It's going to be absolutely on the limit stuff. And, well, when they're a little bit slower down the straight, that slipstream is always sort of magnified. And it just adds that little bit more because down the straights, it means that you have to be on the ball on the exits. You know, the sort of the hairpin of turn 3, then you go back down the hill of turn 4. Those exits are going to be very crucial. And they can be very decisive throughout both qualifying and the race.
They can indeed. So, who have we got being involved in the race? Well, we can start bringing up some drivers on your screen now. Ray Peasley is the driver we're currently focusing on. Now, as you may probably have guessed, me and Zach, we don't know an awful lot about this series. We're very much excited to see who's going to be taking the crown and who's going to be putting their foot forward, certainly. But we're going to basically start this Season 4 as a bit of a refresh. There's about 28 cars here today, and we might as well sort of treat everyone as equal, not have any favourites, and just go into it. And everybody then gets an opportunity to impress, basically, Zach, don't they? Because, as you said, I think Dominic Lamb-Webb, I seem to remember his name for the Nordschleife. He's going to be one to look out for, I'm sure. But, as we said before, we're just going to try and give everyone their due, because I'm sure everyone will be turning up, done plenty of practice, ready to put their best foot forward, shall we say.
Well, for sure. I mean, it's the season opener here at the Red Bull Ring, and they're going to want to impress. They're going to want to get that season off to a good start and get that ball rolling early, because mentality and confidence is definitely half of the story. So they're going to be doing those preseason preparations, coming into round 1 just with the mentality that, you know, I can do this, I can score well, and well, as you say, from our point of view, it's not going to be much in the way of bias, because, well, I know absolutely no one on this grid. So pretty much the standouts in quali are going to be the ones I'll be probably rooting for in the race. But we never know, because qualifying and the race, especially at such a track like the Red Bull Ring, they're vastly different things.
They are indeed, as Stuart Mathers puts the first time on the board. That is obviously the quickest time, because it is the only time at the moment, as Christopher Rowe goes through as well. And all of a sudden we'll start seeing the times cascading in. Having said that, there we go, we're seeing about 4 more being put on the board. So these are the first flying laps. Realistically, the cars are still getting up to temperature. The drivers are getting used to the track, used to the cars as well. We did have to have a bit of a server change in a couple of minutes ago, which is why we were slightly delayed going live. But that may have just taken the concentration off some of the drivers, Zach.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it knocks you out of the swing, especially I've done a lot of endurance racing, and when we have the safety cars, the prolonged safety cars, you always notice in the drivers that the attitude when you go back to green flag is vastly different, because they're knocked out of that rhythm, they're knocked out of that swing. They hype themselves up so much going into a race. I'm not sure if you do any racing yourself, Jack, but for definitely myself, you get yourself into that mood, and then when it sort of died down a little bit and you're delayed, it's then sort of knocked out of it. So for the first couple of laps, you can see that they're getting in. They're not particularly close times, but they're just settling in. They're getting into their groove, and they're trying to acclimatise themselves to the track and maybe go for a long run, put a bit more fuel in it, and go longer. So then towards the end of it, just take the fuel out, fresh tyres, and absolutely go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. I have done it a little bit myself, I have to say, in real life more than the sim racing. In sim racing, I can never quite get to grips with it, I'll be honest. I do actually have the opinion that the sim racing requires quite a lot more, or very different, but in my opinion, a lot harder mental toughness than real life racing does. But I'm sure we can get into that a little bit later. Halfway through qualifying, and 19 drivers have so far put a time in, 20 as I say that. Out of about, well, there's an absolutely massive grid. I wouldn't be surprised if the grid is actually closer to tipping over 30 drivers on the grid, to be honest, and you can see them all on the left-hand side there. They're starting to get a bit closer because inevitably the slipstream, like you mentioned before, Zach, is going to play a part. It's very important in qualifying to get good track position, isn't it? Because the last thing you want to do is be all on your own, and if the toe makes up about 0.3 of a second, your rivals are using that and you don't have an option.
For sure, you need to have that. It's sort of, you don't want to be in the toe of a driver who's maybe 3 or 4 tenths slower than you, because you make all that time up on the straight and then you're really bogged down through the corners. And there's not many of them here at the Red Bull Ring. You've got around, I believe, 10 official corners. So, you know, you haven't got a lot of time to make that time up. So if you are not in the toe or you're stuck behind someone, you don't have the opportunity, the corners, to actually make that time up. And that's why we often see very close times at the Red Bull Ring, because it's a short lap. In Formula One cars, nearly sub 1 minute, and now we're into the mid 20s. So it is all about that track position, as you say, and just having that balance. You want to sort of pair up with someone who's around your pace, and of course the drivers will know better than we do who's around their pace, and just work with them. Maybe if you've got someone you're particularly close with, give them a couple of laps in tow, then swap round, do a couple of laps, and just interchange, because if you're going into the unknown with a driver you don't know the pace of, it's a big risk, and especially towards the later stages of qualifying, it can be a deciding factor.
Yeah, so time's tumbling at the moment. John McHutchinson goes on pole position. Now there is a car I recognise from the finale, the purple Scottish Radical, I should say. Absolutely flying here at the Red Bull Ring, not even using that draft assistance. Luke Grundman is about to come across the line, I believe. Now, where is he? He hasn't set a lap time yet, but he's got a purple Sector 1 according to the graphic. Although I think that purple Sector 1 has just been taken away from him, but it's still quick, but he's going very slowly in Sector 2. So, all of a sudden, everybody's starting to equal themselves out. Dan Webster here, he's gone quick in Sector 2. He got the purple Sector 3 last time round. What can Dan Webster do? Can he upset John McHutchinson? Got 2.5 tenths to find if he's going to try and do it, and he comes across the line, and it's not an improvement from Dan Webster, so he stays in second place. Only 2 drivers in the 24s at the moment, and I have to say, they're quite a long way ahead of Stuart Mathers, aren't they, Zach, at the moment?
Yeah, they are. It's weird. I mean, we've still got a while left to go in qualifying, but yeah, Jake Hutchinson, Jesus, spitting up on my words there. Yeah, doing an incredible job at the front. I believe he's on another lap, just trying to improve. Not long left to go in qualifying now, Jack. It's going to be a close one. I believe that is the man in 5th place going purple to the middle sector. Unfortunately, I don't think could improve by the end of the lap. But it's interesting, you know, with a track like this, the delta times between each sector can really fluctuate quite a lot. You know, you can be quick in Sector 1, lose time in Sector 2, be quick in Sector 3, and still end up 5th.
Graham Brown goes into 3rd place, however, so he does nudge just ahead of Stuart Mathers to get slightly closer to Dan Webster. But Webster and McHutchinson so far still the class of the field. But if you want to look at how close this race is going to go, just take a look from 3rd down to 8th. That is separated by less than a tenth of a second throughout the entire field. I mean, you've got 400th basically to Mathers, and you've got 7,000th, 100th, and then 2.5 tenths. I mean, that is incredibly close. And you've got the same story from Nick Vaughan Roberts all the way down to about Patrick Charlton as well. So that is going to be very exciting indeed. Dan Webster goes on pole position with a 1:24.25, 2.5 tenths quicker than John McHutchinson himself. And all of a sudden, there's a half a second gap between Graham Brown and Dan Webster as McHutchinson tries to take advantage of some slipstream. But I think actually being caught in the traffic there may have slowed him down in the long run. We've got well over 30 cars now qualified, 32, and I think we've got 38 involved this evening. A couple of drivers just haven't been able to put that lap time in due to iRacing's off-track counters, potentially. If anybody's out there is wondering what the off-track counter is, basically it's their way of, judging track limits. If you get a 1x, that means you've got 1 encroachment onto the track limits, or you could have hit another driver, or you could have caused a collision or something like that as well. So either way, you get your lap time taken away. So that's what's happening further down the field as we're having more spins left, right and centre. There's only 10 seconds left of this qualifying, Zach. The drivers who haven't set a lap time, they're going to need to get a move on.
For sure, it's their dying stages, and they've left it. They've taken a massive risk in not getting a good enough lap in. Now on board with Christopher Kane coming through turn number 4 into 5. You have to be very committed through the sector. You know, you're going into the tight infields, the double lefts, and it's going to be absolutely everything. But he also needs to make that compromise. It's his only lap. He's down very far down the grid. There's a spinner through the infields as well, but Christopher comes through in towards turn number 7, getting on that curve very nicely in towards 8. Again, you want to ride that curve on the inside. It really hooks the car around all the way through. It's been a relatively tidy lap. How that's going to be in relative spec to Dan Webster and Jake McCutchinson at the front, the front row as it stands. Christopher Kane now through the final corner of turn number 10, the dying stages of qualifying. Can he get himself off the back end of the grid? He comes across the line now. Is it going to be an improvement, or is he going to have to dwell amongst the backstays? Decent lap time, a lot higher up than he used to be, but again, just not quite enough to get him into that top bracket.
Yeah, there's a few drivers that are sort of between that 20th and 30th mark that are improving on their lap times. None of them, though, are going to trouble the drivers right at the front of the field. Dominic Lang-Webb put himself into 3rd place while we were focusing elsewhere. Simon Edwards qualified well, Frankie Dixon as well, and obviously Graham Brown we saw earlier on just pipping Stuart Mathers, so now Mathers is all the way down to 7th. That shows, well, that's an interesting line that Dave Kirkman is trying to take, and he was going on a half-decent lap, so I'm not entirely sure why he did that. But Darren Taylor comes across the line. Is it an improvement? Yeah, only just, but it is an improvement. But, you know, when you're talking the gaps are less than hundredths of a second, you know, realistically, a small improvement can jump you 3 or 4 places.
Oh, for sure. It's such fine margins. We're talking fractions of a second, fractions of a blink of an eye when it comes to track like this and fields like this that are so big. You're going to get these close gaps. And even whether it's just braking slightly later or getting on their power slightly earlier, taking a slightly different line, it can mean it can just make such a big difference. It can be the difference between 10th and 5th, or even 10th and pole in some cases.
Indeed. So, who has got the pole? Well, it's Dan Webster, currently sat at the top with John McCutchinson in 2nd place, hoping to maybe pip him to the first corner, which is a very crucial corner, it has to be said around here. Dominic Lang-Webb in 3rd place with Simon Edwards in 4th, Frankie Dixon in 5th with Graham Brown in 6th place. Stuart Mathers, Ettridge, Busson and Vaughan Roberts round out the top 10 with Martin Booker and James Child in 11th and 12th. 13th down sees Charlton, Budgeon, Taylor, LeMay, that's Michael LeMay first, Paul LeMay in 17th, Richard Brown in 18th, Cruz, Redford rounding out the top 20, Kirkman, Burkitt, Clark and Rowe are in 20th down to 24th. Then you got Langford, Peasley, Sanderson, Kane, Crabb, Robertson, Dowson, Maltby, Grundman, Noble, Clark and Ward down to 36th. And if you think I'm rushing this, it's because I am slightly. Adam Pearce and Jamie Thomas rounding out the field. A few of those drivers at the back, they're not setting a lap time. So Martina Ward, actually, I've commentated on her a couple of times. Nice to see her on the grid, as well as a few of these drivers. So it might be fun to have a bit of a catch-up with a few of these drivers later on. But yeah, there's a lot of drivers there, Zach, and we only have, at tops, 2 minutes to run through them. It's a full grid, that they're fielding here.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice grid to have. It's a big grid. It's hopefully going to be a recipe for a great race. Of course, that slipstream all throughout the Grand Prix is going to be one to look out for. And to be fair, maybe pole position might not be the best place to start. If you're 2nd, 3rd, you can benefit off that slipstream, save some fuel, whatever it might be, and just really benefit. And, well, Dan Webster's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to hold at that 1st place on that long run down towards turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, he's going to have to make sure his start is absolutely awesome, because John McCutchinson has shown in the past that he is an absolute flying, you could say he's a flying Scotsman. The lights come on, the engine notes rise, and all of a sudden we're racing in the Radical Season 4, Round 1, and it is a good start by John McCutchinson. He could be going for the race lead here into the braking zone of T1. No, Dan Webster holds him on the outside, but that's only because he outbroke himself. John McCutchinson takes the race lead. Simon Edwards and Dominic Lang-Webb have gone into 2nd and 3rd, with Dan Webster slipping down 3 positions. Frankie Dixon, Graham Brown and Stuart Mathers are all as they were coming across the line in qualifying, but there's a little bit of a battle here in the background as they go 2 wide. Martin Booker is part of that. They're going 2 by 2. Hurrah, hurrah, we say in the commentary box. But at the moment, it's a bit hard to call who's who and where's where, because everyone is trying to overtake everyone at this point.
Everyone's just trying to filter their way through, find some space, fill it, gain, lose. I mean, it's just as easy to gain as it is to lose in these hectic starts. This is Dominic Lang-Webb making a move through turn 4. You can just see they've all even now starting to patch off into their own little groups of 2 or 3, and it's just been such a chaotic start, an absolutely nightmarish start for Dan Webster. Got away decently well, tried to hang it around the outside, outbroke himself, and those sausage curbs on the exit of turn 1 are absolutely lethal, and that really did cost him into the gravel when someone in front there, that might cost him a position. But Martin Booker, yet again, another one, just trying to find his way through and pick a gap. As that is I think that's James having a bit of an off on turn 8. A very easy mistake to do, but that is always to be expected on lap 1.
Yeah, in fact, there's been quite a few offs and spills and thrills throughout the field. It's actually I've got an event ticker that gives me highlights of things whenever people overtake someone or fly off the circuit, and to be honest, it's hard to keep up with at the moment. We will try and keep up with it, of course. It's ball grab and budget. Look at this battle at the back end of the field. I can already sense that this series is going to be one of those series where even if the front lot have just chilled out at it, you can just shoot back to the 5 for 20th, and all of a sudden it's just hot and heavy. And that is what we're loving right now. Paul Crabb, Kevin Budgeon, Paul Clark and Stuart Mathers. Mathers has fallen down massively, and Paul Clark. They've lost 15 and 14 positions between them so far. As we have spinners in the background, Paul Clark is one of them, and so is Stuart Mathers. You couldn't write it, could you? Just as I'm talking about them, saying about how far they've fallen down the field, they fall even further. Paul Clark has gone down into 24th position now.
Yeah, commentators curse once again, Jack. I mean, whether you believe it or not, it's definitely prevalent. He's going to be losing out quite a bit for this. Is the battle for P4 and even the podium as a whole. Frankie Dixon under pressure from Lang-Webb just behind as they go through turn 7 and 8. Again, you could just see really struggling for grip as they now go in towards the penultimate and final corner. Very tricky corners as Lang-Webb is just trying to find a way through, pick that slipstream, find a gap as well with Mike Bussin as well, trying to find a way through on Graham Brown just in front of him. So they're all now starting to get into these little trains, get into them slipstreams, and I think as the battles start to erupt, we're going to see them patch off into groups of 2 or 3 and have their own little squabbles as we saw at the back. But if the top 5, as they are very, very close at the front, if they start to fight, and this is in fact, I believe, a move for P7. Have a little look in towards turn 1. Mike, a little bit under pressure, having to look in his mirrors, and it's going to be a long run up and towards turn 2 and 3. If he's going to be tucked up in the slipstream, could be able, Martin Booker, to go for the move. He's going to pull to the right-hand side. Is he going to brake late enough? Is he going to go for it down towards turn 3? Gets the move done. This is Mike Bustin trying to go around the outside, even under pressure from Oliver just behind, and he's going to lose that position, and I believe it down into P8.
Paul LeMay is having a little battle here with Sergio Martinez de la Cruz, which is a surname and a full name that I'm just going to keep repeating because it is amazing to say, to be honest. Rolls off the tongue, lovely. But Paul LeMay at the moment struggling to get past a little bit. Now, I sense that there may be a touch of damage on the side of that Radical. I'm not entirely sure. It's hard to see, isn't it? It might just be the way that the bodywork has sort of moulded that logo on the side of it. It's difficult to tell sometimes. But Simon Edwards, look at this. Now, he can't attack forwards because all of a sudden Dan Webster, after losing that pole position and losing that first place, is keen to try and at least get back to second and hunt down the man who's taken first away from him into turn number 1, and that is John McCutcheon. So as he's fighting with Simon Edwards here, all the time John is just pulling away. He's just looking in his mirrors every so often and thinking, yeah, I've got another half a second here, half a second there, half a second everywhere, and that's exactly what he's pulling out at the moment. The gap is currently 1.6 seconds, and Simon Edwards is holding up Dan Webster. I think you could probably agree here, Zach, because remember in qualifying, there was a good half a second lap time between Simon Edwards and Dan Webster, and Simon's going to have to fight hard to keep this position.
Oh, for sure. Dan Webster, of course, a little bit knocked at the start, but he seems to have found his rhythm now and trying to go for that charge. John at the front side, leading this race, is definitely not complaining, as you say. Any little battle, any side-by-side action, he's going to be benefiting off it. You can see Dan Webster so committed under brakes, chucking it in towards turn 4, practically pushing Simon Edwards through, and is just trying to get that good exit, benefit off the slipstream, and just be able to brake late enough. But again, he knows he's got the pace at this stage. He knows he doesn't need to make any sort of judgments. You can see Simon Edwards getting all sorts of squirrely through turn number 6 and into 7. Dan Webster just needs to pick his moments. He knows he's got the pace, get a good run off of turn 8, maybe even look for it in towards turn 9. Simon Edwards definitely looking in his mirrors, going half defensive in towards turn 8. Here comes Dan Webster to the left-hand side. Is it going to be all the way around the outside of the penultimate corner? Surely not. He's going to look, he's going to tuck back in, but you can tell that he's desperate, and Simon Edwards looking into that mirror. Even if it was a half defensive move, he knows that Dan Webster's there, ready to put the pressure on. Down towards turn 1, not much going to happen, but he's going to have the long run up and towards turn 3, Jack.
John McHutchison has gained half a second in that. He's now 2 seconds in the lead. And Frankie Dixon, Zach, has been invited into this, but Dan Webster just stops. Dan Webster's engine has died. It's not even like he's run out of fuel. Dan Webster out of this race. Pole position, man. Has he put qualifying fuel in? Has he not changed his setup, maybe? I've seen that in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, and that is absolutely gutting. Not only for Dan Webster, but for us as spectators as well. That is handing the race somewhat to John McHutchison. But looking at this fight for top 10 now, Patrick Charlton, I think that's on Darrell Taylor even. Oh, actually, it might be trying to fight off Paul Crabb. Apologies about that. So this fight for the top 10, again, heating up. But this is just what I was talking about before, Zach. With a 38-car grid, if he has not got something happening at the front of the field, you can be damn sure something will be happening in the mid-pack.
Oh, for sure. And even on such a short lap, cars are always going to be near each other. And these spicy fights for the top 10 are definitely ones we have to save for when we're harshly robbed of a fight at the front side with Webster's car just spontaneously just going. I'm not even sure what happened. It just seemed to happen, and I've seen it happen on iRacing cars, just whether they over rev the engine or downshift too quickly, that engine braking can just pop the engine, or as you say, even qualifying fuel. This is Richard Brownie trying to fight Paul LeMay. He's trying to get himself into the top 12, and he's got the top 10 in sight. It's just about picking his moments and not going for dives into the final corner, because oh my, I can tell you from experience that those moves definitely from that far back do not work. But yeah, definitely being treated. Some nice little midfield fights here. This is Mark Langford looking to the right hand side in towards turn 1, tucks back in, has a little look, just trying to feel the mirrors of Matthew in front, and just let him know, you know, I'm here, put that pressure on, and just making sure that he's putting that pressure on, because if you can sort of bait your opponent into a mistake, Jack, it's almost half of the job done.
I like to call it a psychological overtake, to be honest, when you sort of throw in, as we've got a couple of cars going very slowly, and I'm not entirely sure why, to be honest. Yeah, I call it a nice psychological overtake, is when you throw the fakes left, right and centre, and you just fill the mirrors, and all of a sudden the driver in front outbrakes themselves, or they don't hit their apex because they're too busy looking in the rear view mirrors, and you sort of psych them out. And it's a very impressive way to make the overtake, and it's an extremely effective one, as well as Martina Ward flies off the circuit into the tyre barrier. And that's very unfortunate. That's going to be a very damaged Radical, I fear, as Martina Ward gets back on the racetrack. Not going to be... Yeah, there we go. The front end of that is absolutely ruined. That's going to hurt aerodynamics. It's going to hurt frontline speed. It's going to hurt everything.
It's going to hurt pride more than anything as well. That just going straight on at turn 4, nothing you ever want to see. And yeah, definitely a big blow to the ego and of course to the car. Definitely won't be helping for the remainder of this race. Very short race, only 16 laps, and we're already almost approaching halfway. And it's a short lap here as well, so it's not going to last particularly long either. So it's all about, it's a sprint, but it's also a marathon in the sense that you have to pick your moments right. You can't be making any rash judgments, and you have to stay consistent. Yes, it is a sprint, but you also have to keep in mind the race aspect of it. This is Matthew Burkett on, under pressure from Mark Langford behind in towards turn number 3. You can see Mark just again filling the mirrors, playing that psychological game as we talk about, and he gets given the space by Matthew. A bit of a lockup from Mark behind, and again just trying to get himself that good exit. That good run will always benefit you going down this long straight, as you need to maximize it. This is Nick Roberts going very slow off of turn number 4, and again mistakes really hurting a lot of people today.
Yeah, Nick Vaughan Roberts, this is a replay of it. I was just keeping an eye on the timing tower. Graham Brown overtook him, but for the last memory, he wasn't anywhere near him, and that's because he was nowhere near him. Nick Vaughan Roberts spinning all by himself. I seem to remember, I think I commentated on Nick Vaughan Roberts in a TCR series, a PMRE series, back in my first ever gigs as a commentator 18 months ago. And if that's true, Nick, please do hit the comment section and let me know if that is true, because I feel like I remember your name, or I remember commentating on it from somewhere anyway. this battle isn't going anywhere. Mark Langford, Matthew Burkett, again, nice and close with each other, and this could be a fantastic little undercut by Mark Langford, on Matthew Burkett. Brilliant car placement, and I think he should have this done and dusted into T1 as long as he brakes late enough. He needs to hit the apex and gets a good run. He flows all the way nicely to the exit, but this run now is probably even more crucial. Going through turn 2, I don't like to call it turn 2 because it's flat out and it's hardly a turn, and into turn 3, but it's crucial that Burkett now, here we go, slower on the apex. He parks Mark Langford up, flows to the exit, and there we go. He needs to cover off that. Needs to cover off the inside though. He's let Mark Langford back in with an opportunity into T4. Now Zach, T4 is a viable overtaking opportunity, isn't it? And he's just let Mark Langford go for the inside. Although Matthew Burkett has tried to flow the speed round the outside, and he's managed to hold on to it, to be fair. But again, brilliant racing respect from these guys. They could do with being a little more ruthless though.
Yeah, for sure. That was a very shaky Mark Langford. Tried to turn in, but he realised there was a car there. It takes two to tango for sure. I mean, we always credit the guy doing the overtaking without crediting the guy that actually gets overtaken. But, you know, it takes two to tango. You have to have that mutual respect between the two. And it was more just a battle of switcheroos between them. Mark Langford still coming out of that behind, but he's definitely got the pace. He just needs to pick his way through and, again, try and go for those moves and get those switcheroos. Just park it on the apex, cover off that switchback, and then you'll be absolutely set. Could he even go for another move in towards turn 1? Looks a little bit too far back. You're not on the brakes for very long, but Matthew Burkett going half defensive. Here comes Mark Langford to the inside, tucks back in though, and it's just going to go for that tight run off of turn number 1. Have that good run, have that slipstream all the way up towards, as you say, turn 2 and 3. A very heavy braking zone if he can get it stopped. If he got another spin of Vaughan Roberts, I think maybe he's lost a couple of positions, but here Mark Langford, is he going to go for it? Matthew definitely looking in the mirrors, but no moves as of yet. So for Mark, I think he's definitely being held up. This is Nick Vaughan Roberts in towards turn 3. Is it just another one of his own mistakes? Just comes off the undulating circuit, can really knock it off over the curb, all that sausage, and into the barrier. A big hit for his radical, certainly.
Yeah, I'm just going to have another look at this because it was a bit odd. I think the sausage curve is just too big for these radicals, isn't it? He does run wide. Oh yeah, and then he just gets this rear wheel as he plants the power. These cars are so light. He plants the power on the sausage curb, and all of a sudden it goes. Well, it turns around basically. Paul Crabb, Paul LeMay, the battle of the Pauls at the moment for 10th position, but they've got Patrick Charlton to be catching up as well. So really, their phases need to be set forward if they're going to have any opportunity trying to overtake the 9th place man at the moment. This is the only race, unfortunately, of the evening. It's a very quick sort of round, the Radical Series. They don't like to mess around. 10 minutes of qualifying, a 16-lap race around the Red Bull Ring, done and dusted, and we'll see you later sort of thing, and see you next week. And we're very much looking forward to seeing them next week as well. They've got a 12-week calendar. Poor preparation here from the commentators, but I don't have the calendar sat in front of me. I'll try and bring it up before the end of the stream because I do remember it being pretty action-packed, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. This three-way battle here for the top 10 is heating up quite nicely. The top lot, I haven't said that, I think we've got a battle here for P2, and as I cut to it, there is a battle, and there's contact, and there's fatalities in the battle as well. Simon Edwards, who was in second place quite comfortably, falling off the circuit and now falling all the way down into 5th position. He could actually lose more. He's going down to 6th as we catch Dominic Lang-Webb trying to go up the inside of Frankie Dixon, and there's more contact, and Frankie Dixon's been turned around. Dominic Lang-Webb carries on going, but Frankie Dixon is parked sideways in a precarious area of the circuit. Luckily, he just blends into a bit of gap in the traffic. Graham Brown is in 5th place just behind, but look at that. Who's just behind Graham Brown? Simon Edwards, and I think there could be a little bit of afters in this if they catch up to each other. Frankie Dixon needs to get his head down and get gone.
Oh, for sure. It was just, it all kicked off. We had nothing for the last sort of 7 laps or so, and it all kicked off as soon as we cut back to it. And, well, it was just desperation. I think Lang-Webb saw his chance. This is, I believe, Graham Brown going for a move to the inside, or is it even Simon Edwards? Yes, it is. He's got a rivalry to catch up to. A nice move down the inside, got it stopped, and he's now starting his charge towards Frankie Dixon just in front. Going to catch a replay of it. It all started with that mistake, got tagged again by Dixon on the inside, and then Lang-Webb was like, well, thank you very much. I'm going to try and get involved, but it was just an awkward mistake. You can see Dixon on the outside just tries to keep the foot in, and then Lang-Webb on the inside just tags him and around he goes. A very easy mistake to make between the two. It's a fast corner, not somewhere you often expect them to go side by side. It can work, but in that particular affair, it didn't quite work out for them. But Simon Edwards, he's got it all to do, and he's got all the motivation in the world, seeing the man who's just driven into the side of him right in front of him.
I have to say, I'm just going to have another quick look at this. Edwards sort of made the mistake himself and then obviously tried to come back on the circuit. Now, Frankie Dixon maybe could have seen it coming and come a little bit further off the curb, but I think that's been a bit unfair. I think Simon Edwards was actually the driver at fault there. I don't think he was really, well, at fault is probably a little bit harsh, because I think the car was very unstable as rejoining that track. It's probably very hard to actually do a safer rejoin than he did there, but it's just probably one of those racing incidents. Hopefully there's no harm done. However, I think Dominic Lang-Webb and Frankie Dixon might have a word after this session. But I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, Zach, they'll all leave it up to the judicials, as that's a huge lunge up the inside for Simon Edwards on Frankie Dixon. And there's a driver going very slowly in front of them as well. He's a back marker as well. Not sure who it is. I think it may be Ryan Clark. It is Ryan Clark. But that was a massive lunge. I'm going to try and get a replay of that, because that was very impressive. Just find it. Simon Edwards on Frankie Dixon. Look at this. From such a long way back to send it up the inside there and get it stopped. He must have a ton of bricks to chuck at that brake pedal to get that car stopped then.
Beautiful. That was a first-class send. That was really, he just licked the stamp and absolutely launched it up the inside, definitely cramping his leg. Whether that was intentional or not, whether he intended to actually go for the move or it was just to avoid him. This is Vaughan Roberts on the back of Richard Brownie in towards the infield section of turn 6 and 7, all over the back of him, practically pushing him through. And we always see these little groups of two. But again, from Simon Edwards, absolutely nothing in that one. Just sent it, got it stopped, said thank you very much, and jobs are good and up into P4 and trying to catch back up into the top 3 where he definitely deserves to be. And as always is the case with this race, we've got a lovely midfield fight going on here, and one definitely in the making for a spectacular fight. It's a shame though that John at the front is just doing such a good job. We can't discredit him for it. And as they go side by side, oh no, another bit of contact into the penultimate corner. Luckily, a nice little tandem between the two. I thought we were in Austria, not Tokyo, with just like that, and they're still going to be side by side after such a tandem. Wait, is that Mick Hutchinson going slowly? Is he out of this race? Or is that just a timing glitch? No, he's still going. A bit of a heart in the mouth moment.
Glitch, don't you? Just
we do.
Stopped.
That was a heart attack. That was really going to spice this race up.
It was indeed. So we can shoot back to this little battle between Richard Brown and Nick Vaughan Roberts. Now we know John McHutchinson is safe and sound. Just having a little bit of a battle here. I was about to think that maybe he was in the pits for a mandatory pit stop, but no, he doesn't have that. They do have fast repairs, so drivers who have had a little bit of an incident can come into the pits, can get their fast repairs done, but unfortunately it's such a quick lap round here and the pit lane takes so long for these drivers that it's not really advantageous to do so unless you really need to. I mean, some of these drivers, Martina Ward's been in the pit lane for 5 minutes and 40 seconds of this entire race, and to be fair, we've been going for 20, so she's spent a quarter of the race pretty much in the pit lane, so you really do have to be careful of what you choose to. If you can still run with damage like Nick Vaughan Roberts is here, well, put it this way, he hasn't come into the pits and he's still running 13th, whereas other drivers who came into the pits, you're looking at about 26th or 27th. So potentially Nick Vaughan Roberts enjoying himself out there, as well as Richard Brown, to be fair to him, because I just saw his diffuser has been probably seen better days, is probably a nice way of putting it. He's been rammed from the back there, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's not going to be doing his diffuser any good, his downforce any good. And well, it's equally a pain for Vaughan Roberts just in front of him. This is a bit of maybe an incident into the infield section. 3 cars going in. He goes in a bit deep, gets over that bump. He tries to stick up the inside, Pierce, and again just got tagged. It's one of those things where you see the gap, it closes very quickly, but you have to go for them in these sorts of races. It's a sprint, take any opportunity you can get. And going back to the pit lane point, it's just about of course, you want to minimize the amount of time you spend in the pit lane, because as soon as you come in, you don't have that time, especially if no one else is coming in to the pit lane either. This is Dominic Lang-Webb in P2. He's got Mike Basson right behind him, charging after him, in fact, and we could have a spicy little fight for P2 on our hands coming on to the penultimate lap, lap 15 of 16.
That's what we're hoping for. The drivers maybe trying to spice things up a little bit. Adam Pearce has gone into the pits after that incident. Maybe there was a little bit of damage. Maybe that's why the car reacted so violently is potentially Richard Sanderson is having a nice, well, actually all three of these drivers are having a nice little battle. Actually, I think the pit lane, I think the timing tower on the left-hand side is actually playing games with us here, Zach, because it's saying that a lot of people are in the pits that they absolutely aren't. It's saying John McHutchison keeps disappearing off the face of the earth, and he absolutely isn't. So I'll try and keep an eye as best I can on the timing tower, but do keep in mind that it may well just be a glitch. Hopefully it settles itself out. I'll try reloading the overlay, and hopefully it all just chills itself out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully for our case, because, well, we do not want any more heart attacks, such as McHutchinson going down the grid, tumbling out, saying it was out. So that really would have spiced things up, but we got a battle for P2 on our hands in the meantime, and we definitely know the gap between these two is not very much. So we've only got around about a lap and a little bit left to go, as John will lead us around another 10 corners, the final 10 corners, and Mike is going to be given his absolute everything to try and get that P2. You can see really gaining so much through the fast corners now on to the final lap. And it's all or nothing for Mike. He's got to give it absolutely everything. Tucked up in the slipstream, going to go for that move. I mean, he's on the podium, but a P2 is definitely a lot nicer than a P3, a podium or not. And to start the season off, to get yourself onto that second place point, it's got to be something special.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because there is only one race per evening, per round sort of thing. So you really need to make the most of it, don't you? It's not like, oh, I've got a reverse grid in the next race. I'll see what happens to the leaders. You really need to, I mean, he's looking from a long way back if he was trying to fake out Dominic Langweb there. You really need to take advantage and just get as many points as you can. Because normally in a 12-week series in sim racing, you're looking at least 2 races per evening. So realistically, you're looking at 24 opportunities to score points. These guys only have 12, so it is crucial. But one driver who's not worried too much about any of that is this man, John McHutchinson. There are battles all over the place, but he's not been involved in one of them. He led into turn number 1 when Dan Webster outbroke himself, went too deep and ran off wide, and McHutchinson since then has been pretty much unstoppable. He's been impenetrable, and he's easily been the quickest driver out on the circuit. John McHutchinson is going to take the flag. He won't make every single round for these 12 weeks, but he's going to be winning the ones that he does by the looks of it. He takes a checker flag. He takes the race victory here at Season 4, Round 1 of the UK&I Ireland Radical Series. Dominic Langweb takes second place with Mike Busson in third in the end. Simon Edwards comes across the line in fourth, and Frankie Dixon rounds out the top 5. I know he's had some love in the chat by Jack Ashton, so I'm going to give Graham Brown a shout out. We didn't see much of him, but he made solid results. He made solid places. 6th place for Graham Brown.
Definitely a good race from anyone in the top 5. I mean, it was so close, so decisive. We had battles throughout, and to be fair, just getting to the end of this race was a tough ask, because, you know, it's a new season. It's everyone's fighting with desperation just to get to the end, as we've still got battles going down to the wire. This is Matthew Burke. Still trying to make up a couple of places from P16. He's got Richard Sanderson now coming across the line as the rest of the grid filter themselves out, but just a flawless drive from Mick Hutchinson. Got the lead into turn 1. Didn't look back since. Said, you can do what you want further back. I'm just going to do my own thing. Be consistent. That's exactly what you want, and he very much deserves to take the championship lead in this 12-round series. And as you say, you know, every point counts in such a shorter series, because, you know, each point takes up a high percentage of the total points available. So you have to be on the ball for every single one of them. And, well, John definitely got the ball rolling well today.
He did indeed. So as all the drivers come across the line, we can start running you through the race results. Here they are on your screen. And John McHutchison confirmed race victor by 8.3 seconds. A massive margin from Dominic Langweb, who had to hold off Mike Busson's push at the end there, but it wasn't to be. So it's 2nd for Dominic and 3rd for Mike. Simon Edwards rounds out the top 4, with Frankie Dixon rounding out the top 5. Graham Brown, as we mentioned before, is in 6th place. Darrell Taylor, 7th. And Oliver Ettridge is 8th, Patrick Charlton in 9th, with Paul Crabb rounding out the top 10. Then your top 20 is seen off like this. Paul LeMay, Richard Brown, Nick Vaughan-Roberts after a hectic race, let's face it. Sergio Cruz, Adam Pearce, Ray Peasley, Jamie Thomas, Richard Sanderson, and then Matthew Burkett and Mark Langford. They are your top 20. Luke Grundman, Christopher Rowe, Kevin Budgeon, Dave Dowson, Simon Maltby and Paul Clark are all the drivers that finished on the lead lap. the top 26 drivers as well. Then you got the lapped drivers. Dan Webster started on pole position, and technically he was first. He was just first of the lapped drivers. He won't be very happy with me saying that, but it's just the fact. Martin Booker in 28th position as well, with 29th being Ryan Clark, Robert Noble, James Child, Dave Kirkman, Guy Robertson, Stuart Mathers, Martina Ward, Michael LeMay, Christopher Kane, and Will Redford. So many drivers to be reading off that list there. Zach, it's brilliant to have so many involved, and hopefully we'll have a few potentially in the interview waiting. I've spoken too soon. Zach, there is already a driver in the interview waiting room. Why don't you go and have a chat to our race victor, John McHutchinson?
Well, John, I have to say that was a pretty impressive drive. You got the lead in towards turn one. It didn't look back since. Was it as an easy of a drive as we saw from the commentary booth, or was it pretty plain sailing for you?
Yeah, it was okay, I guess. I knew once I got a 2-second lead, it would be difficult to catch, so quite happy with that. Some in reserve.
Definitely not a bad. We're just having another look at your race start here. You just got away so well, and even Dan just really got a good start. You just filled the gap, stayed committed. Do you think that if you didn't get it done there, you would have held on, or was it crucial that you won the race on that first corner?
It's always better to be in front in this car. Definitely, it's difficult to overtake now with the draft being so much reduced. And I think pole position's on the wrong side on this track. It should be on the inside. That's just my opinion. I feel it's better starting second to get the inside line right at turn one. Seeing it's easy to run wide there. No, I knew Dan would be fast. The qualifying upset me a little because it was meant to be closed and then it was open, so there was 40 cars or something on track, and trying to find a space was difficult. So I was happy to get P2 from that.
P2, definitely not a bad thing. Jack, I think you just want to ask a couple of things?
Yeah, I was just wondering, John. Obviously, the series runs the same as the iRacing calendar, doesn't it? So in between the season finale at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago and this opener, there's been the week 13 update. Has the car changed at all, and have you had to adapt, or is it a little bit different driving it now? Is it harder to overtake? Is it easier? What's the crack?
No, the car's the exact same as it was last season, as far as I'm aware.
Nice.
I haven't read any changes. I don't think so. It feels the same.
Oh, well, as long as it feels the same, I suppose that's all that matters, isn't it? And, well, you were winning back then. I'm sure you'll be winning now. Well, you have won, obviously. But from memory, you said that there may not be... you might not be able to make every single round. Is that still true?
Probably. Yes, I probably won't make every round. Hopefully I'll make half of them, but I doubt I'll get enough to win the championship.
Well, you've got to give everyone else a chance, haven't you, at the end of the day? So, yeah, we've got to give them a taste at the top step of the podium as well.
I suppose so. Simon, I'm sure Simon and Dan and Martin will be the usual suspects will all be there about, sniffing about.
Well, we're very much looking forward to catching up with them as well, hopefully down the line. I don't think they're jumping in for an interview. Oh, we might have Simon Edwards actually in for an interview. So I'll tell you what, John, what we're going to do is we're going to let you get off and savour the sweet taste of victory. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we do let you go, though?
A shout out to all the newcomers tonight. It's a busy field tonight, so kudos to they guys for joining us. I hope they enjoyed it. And big shout out to Dave's mum.
Brilliant. Well, Dave's mum and the newcomers, welcome. And there you go. Nice shout out from John, our race victor there. John, thank you very much for coming in for a chat.
Yeah, thanks, Jackal. Catch you around.
And that was John McHutchinson. Zach, now we've got our fourth place driver, Simon Edwards in. And Simon, it was a hectic race from your perspective. Second for a lot of it. But there was a little bit of a mistake, wasn't there, through turn number 5, I believe it was, the left-hander. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I was struggling the whole race, really. I just couldn't get the car to stop and turn. And eventually that caught me out, and I was scrabbling around the outside of the corner. Didn't realise how close Frankie was to me, and he clipped me, and he's trying to give me the place back all the time, and eventually he does, but he didn't need to. It was my fault. So, yeah, I was struggling. I think I'd done a silly thing, really. We'd been in the practice at the track was a lot slippier, and I'd been chasing it. So I ended up with a car that wasn't as balanced as if I'd just gone back to where I'd started. But even then, I think John probably had the pace on me. But at least I'd been a bit more comfortable.
I was going to say, I mean, sort of just shooting back to that little sort of moment you had through turn 5. From our perspective, it almost looked like, because we cut to it, and I suppose this is a typical way that the media always portray things. We cut to it right at the end when it looked like it was Frankie Dixon's fault. But actually, there was a little bit of a mistake from you early on, wasn't there, I suppose? Going forward, I suppose, are you going to be able to make all 12 rounds? Are you hoping that the championship is something that you have firmly in your sights?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can win it against the top guys here, but I want to stay in the top 3, and let's just see what happens. I'll try and make all 12, but I might not be able to. But there's 2 drop weeks, so if I can make 10, that's good enough.
I was going to say, realistically, obviously, if John's not being here dominating the field as he has done today, you've been right there mixing it with the other guys as well, so I wouldn't put yourself out of it, to be honest. I'm certainly not going to let you off the hook. I'm certainly going to put you up there as one of the championship favourites from my perspective, along with about half the field as well. There was some really good driving today. Plenty of newcomers as well, 38 strong grid. Let's hope that continues as well. As the seasons progress, have there just been more and more drivers jumping in wanting to have a go at this Radical Series?
Yeah, certainly towards the end of last season, we started to pick up people, and then at the beginning of this season, we've got maybe 10 more, which is quite a jump, really.
Yeah.
And from what I could see out there, everybody was behaving as best they could. Obviously, it's skill levels can affect that, but I couldn't see anything bad in practice or qualifying. It all looked good, friendly stuff. So I was quite happy with the new users.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, Zach, but I certainly didn't think there was anything malicious out there. There were some ambitious moves, and maybe what Simon was alluding to about the skill level people will learn that racecraft, won't they? It can be quite difficult when you jump into a new grid.
For sure, and especially, it's the first round of the season. You're going to want to get the season off to a start, and these things happen. It's definitely not with malice, and for a lot of people, if they are new to sim racing or things, it can be a very daunting sort of world to get yourself into, a very daunting hobby. So it's just about leagues like this to welcome those newer people in, to get that experience, and they'll only learn with time and progressively get better. So yeah, definitely nothing in malice, as you say, but yeah, a good race overall, and I think definitely as the season goes on, those newer people will become more accustomed to it, and we'll definitely see a lot less incidents.
Yeah, hopefully. So, Simon, a big thank you for coming in and having a chat to us. Congrats on the 4th place. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, I was going to do what John did, which was shout out to all the new users, and I hope they would continue. So I'll just repeat that.
I was going to say, they can have a shout out again. I'm sure they don't mind.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So just keep sticking at it. We'll share setups where we can, and hopefully they stick around and we get a close field.
Absolutely. And we echo that in the comms box and the broadcast systems as well. Simon, thank you very much for jumping in, and we'll hopefully speak to you next week.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be 3 places higher.
Fingers crossed for you. And that was Simon Edwards, obviously 4th place man in the end. And we got one more person to chat just before we go off air there, Zach. Dominic Lang-Webb. Well, Dominic, are you in the interviews? Are you there, basically?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, a pretty solid 2nd place, it has to be said. It was an eventful race, though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was manic. Yeah, I didn't really see what happened at the start, to be honest. I was just so focused on gaining back those couple of places I lost off the start line. But Dan helped me with that, with his engine failure.
Is that what happened to him?
Yeah, his engine blew, just coming out of T1, I think. Maybe drops it into 1st or something. I'm not too sure.
Oh, God, we were wondering that. We thought my best guess was the fact that maybe he put qualifying fuel in for a race length or something, and he just didn't change it, but that is good. We're just watching your race start again, actually. So as we do the interview, when you watch this back, do make sure that you skip to your interview and you can see what was going on. Mike Busson as well, he was trying to put you under a bit of pressure at the end there as well. You had to absorb that.
Yeah, Mike's extremely quick, and I think he was using the standard setup as well, so he was on high downforce. whereas I think quite a few of us, so I think Simon uses sort of a medium downforce setting and changes it week to week. I'm on low downforce. So for him to be keeping up like that, he had the advantage of the draft. He's doing fantastically well. But there was, a bit of a mix-up with Frankie as well, had a bit of a coming together. We were discussing during the race whether or not we should trade places again and, just be courteous. But in the meantime, people were catching up behind. So we decided to just carry on and put our feet down.
Yeah, well, that was another point that I was going to mention, I suppose, isn't it? Because obviously there was the Frankie Dixon and Simon Edwards sort of coming together just before you're coming together with Frankie, wasn't there? It just so happened that it all sort of all of a sudden just everything happened at once after there were so many laps of just consistent running. But I suppose when you're racing this close, you're this closely matched as well in pace around a circuit like this. It's going to happen sometimes, isn't it? There's going to be some accidental scuffs.
Of course. I mean, the guys up at the front, I'm not usually up here with this lot. They're fantastically quick. And, you put Simon and John together and they're, millimeters away from each other the whole race. You throw Dan into the mix as well. And you haven't really got room for 4 people up the front. So, it did well to stay so close, to be honest.
Well, you did brilliantly well. Dominic, I'm going to say a big congratulations for P2. You survived and you weathered the storm quite well. With any luck, you might be on the top step, might be one more next week or the week after that or sometime soon. Is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, probably just everybody that's joined, and especially for the long termers that have been here from the start. That goes out to all the guys we see at the front right through to the back of the pack. But the biggest shout out goes to Chris. He put so much work in behind the scenes. We've got Martina as well now, who's been doing a lot of work on our new website, which is worth checking out. But I think probably most of all, Dave's mum.
Dave's mum's had multiple shout-outs so far, and I really want to know why, but I'll probably leave that for another week. Congratulations, Dominic. We'll see you and speak to you, I assume, next week as well. If you get back on the podium, do be sure to jump in to have another interview with us.
Yeah, fantastic. Cheers, guys. Good job.
Thanks, Dominic. And that was Dominic Lang-Webb, Zach. And just before we close out this stream, is there any sort of final thoughts from your perspective of the evening's racing and maybe what we can look forward to going forward?
Well, definitely what we can look forward to and anticipate is just the closer races as we just saw up and down the grid. Everyone very close on the limit, whether that was down to the Red Bull Ring or what, but we got 11 more rounds of this season, 11 more tracks, 11 more opportunities for different paces, different things. Of course, different tracks are going to favor different people, different driving styles, and we'll definitely see the grid fluctuate. With such a massive grid as well, we're going to be in for a couple of surprises. And while for today was just a stand-in for me, I will definitely not be opposed to jumping in later on in the season, because today definitely promised a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So tune in next week on Absolute Sim Racing for Road America. That's where the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series is flying off to. I realise that it says there Radical Race Series. I will get that changed for next time, don't you worry. So yeah, if you want to have a look at how these guys tackle the Road America full course, then by all means tune in same time next Thursday. My name's been Jack Oliphant. Zach Sweeney has been alongside me for this evening. Even if he is only standing in, I think you'll all agree he's done a fantastic job. Hopefully we work together again soon, Zach. But my name has been Jack Oliphant, as I said, and we'll see you next time.